Shalom. First off, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakah, Kadash. And to my elders of GMS who told me the truth, Shalom to them. And Shalom to you brothers that scattered out throughout the four corners of the earth, preaching His gospel, preaching His word, risking your lives to do so. Shalom to you brothers. Yeah, and, here it is, people are not having any respect for the president of the United States, because all the shit that's going on, and since he's been in office, and this whole ICE raids, and these wars and rumors of wars, and how they're going into different countries, stealing the leaders of those countries, whatever, and locking them up and shit, and then taking their resources. A lot of people is not feeling what's going on right now in this country right now, and how this government is just moving, and a lot of people are not feeling your boy Trump, you know what I mean? So people are being disrespectful, where it says the President Trump flips the bird and mouths "fuck you" to a Ford worker who called him a pedophile protector, pedo protector, and a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are, they're not, they're not feeling this president. They're not feeling him, and it's a lot of frustration. It's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, and these people are just, they're gone. Like everything's just happening, and people, getting rounded up, and getting killed by ICE, and things are escalating, and it's escalating for the worse. But the prophets, the men that's out here teaching, and we warned you. We warned you how shit is gonna, how shit is gonna start becoming. You know what I mean? We warned you. We was, we out there, praying. Telling you about the warnings of what's going to happen. The Jacob's trouble, the beginning of Jacob's trouble. And how this country is just going to show you how much they don't give a fuck about you. The average citizen that lives here, they don't give a fuck about us, man. We ain't nothing but cattle to them, and that goes for the average Edomite or Edomite that lives here, in these other nations. They don't they damn sure don't give a fuck about so-called black people, whatever. They, so they, and they really don't, now they showing their horns towards the average Edomite or the other person, the other nations that live here, and people are struggling to pay bills and pay rent and keep food in the house and keep food on the table, because the inflation is still high. Everything is still high, and it's still a struggle to live, and people, like I said, it's a lot of hatred in the air. It's a lot of hate and just bitterness and just anger, because of what's going on right now. And it's not going to get no better. It's going to get a lot worse before it get better. It's going to, and it's only going to get better for the elect. It's going to get worse for you other nations and Esau, especially Esau, because, he runs everything right now. The top being Amalek, and then Esau, and then everybody else on down. You know what I mean? We're at the bottom. Us blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we're way at the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean? When it comes to resources and striving and winning in this society, we're not winning shit. We're struggling. We're barely making it. We're constantly being oppressed. So we'll bring a scripture out real quick. They shall have no regards. They shall have no regards for their kings, and princes. Princess KJV. Okay, 2nd Ezra 15 to 16. This is 2 Ezra 15 and 16. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. That's right. They're not going to have no regards for these fucking mayors and fucking governors and presidents now. You know what I mean? Because what's going on? Everybody's in the uproar right now. You know what I mean? Republican versus Democrat. You know, and liberal versus what is the liberal versus the right, whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't follow. I barely follow that fucking politic bullshit. You know, but yeah, you know what I mean? And, you know, the scripture also talks about if Satan be divided against Satan, how should his kingdom stand? How should his house stand? You know what I mean? And these Edomites and everybody, they're fighting against each other. You seen what happened with the whole ICE situation where, you know, Edomite lady got shot. You know what I mean? That was a fellow Edomite that he shot, you know what I mean, that he killed, you know? But it's what? It's this whole liberal versus, you know, the right, Republican right, whatever, division that's going on in this country. You know what I mean? But you know what? Like I said, we ain't to be concerned about that. You know what I mean? That's the Lord putting in work, and that's the Lord putting, you know, Egyptian against Egyptian. You know what I mean? These people who oppressed us and continue to oppress us and you know, and prey on our downfall, you know? So fuck them, you know what I mean? If that's their judgment, that's their judgment. You know what I mean? It's only going to get worse. That's just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get far worse before it gets, you know what I mean? For these motherfuckers, you know what I mean? And you know, that's when the MOTB is going to be implemented. They're going to make that mandatory, and then that's when World War III is going to come into play. You know what I mean? And we out of here. We just got a few more prophecies to you know what I mean, to watch for, and that's it. You know what I mean? We just gotta be patient and just, you know, watch as well as pray, and just and just be long suffering. Just be long suffering, man. We almost out of here. You know what I mean? And it's you know, it's a good time to be alive to see this place coming down. You know, coming down to be destroyed. You know what I mean? This place being, you know, not going back to what it used to be. You know, it's just getting worse by the day. It's just getting worse. You know, now we're in 2026 now. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's it. You know, I just, you know, just gotta, you know, maintain, keep our heads up. You know, like I said, watch as well as pray. You know, and staying on course. You know what I mean? Living these scriptures to the best of our ability. You know what I mean? And just keep constantly praying on the downfall of Babylon. You know what I mean? And that's being delivered by Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You know, with those angels and those chariots coming back. You know what I mean? So with that, you know, Lord willing, to be edifying. Until next time, Shalom.